All right, first and foremost, call Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom Alabacharim. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Ba'ashem, which means in the name of. Yahweh Shai is the name of the only begotten Son, who was sent to deliver the children of Israel from their sins. Ba'ashem Makakwadash means in the name of the Holy Spirit, which is the volume of the book, the Spirit of truth. Shalom Alabacharim. Peace to the elect, that's the men, women, and children, whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life, who's ordained to be delivered in these last days. Shalom to you all. Yeah, and I'm about to play a video real quick that I recorded yesterday watching the football game. It was the Packers versus the Bears, right? It was a Saturday night game, pretty intense game, pretty good game, you know. And there was a commercial that came on that I'm about to play in regards to the awareness to the Amalekites and their quote-unquote persecution, because another thing that also sparked the video was I was watching the Elder Yashawamba. He was talking about how when you have the devil playing the victim, basically look out, watch out, you know, because him playing the victim is a part of his order abkeo for him to cause confusion so that he can establish his New World Order. And a part of the New World Order is establishing Amalek, the people over there in the Middle East, the small hats, the tiny tops, all right? Those people, they're going to be set up as basically the exaltation of the earth, all right? And this is all part of the plan. So as you see them being, having, you know, the government and the world is having sympathy for them, best believe something else is coming up their sleeve, because that's why they're the devil, all right? Because they're going to say one thing and do another, okay? Although they're causing all kind of mayhem and chaos and confusion all on the earth, all right? They're still going to be the ones to play the victim and then actually blame our people for being the problem, like it was explained to from that lady. I think she was a politician. You know, if a brother knows, they can put it up on the comment board. She said the biggest threat to the state of Amalek is so-called Negroes in America, all right? So those people over there, their biggest problem, their biggest threat, their biggest enemy, right, is the so-called Negroes here in America. Why is that? Because of the Great Awakening, because of the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, to identify this devil and who he is, and open up biblical prophecies in the minds of the elect being open, all right, the secrets, okay, of the hidden scriptures, of the mysteries of the scriptures, to expose, all right, the secret things, the hidden things of Esau, Edom, and to show forth who Mystery Babylon is, all right? So, like I said, I want to play this video real quick. And like, this is fair use. This is from a commercial that, you know, was displayed yesterday. Like I said, I recorded it and I watched it. I sent this to particular brothers. And like I said, this is fair use, all right? And this is public information. And in fact, if you feel like these people are being threatened, you should contact these people that they made reference towards, okay? But this is for educational purposes only. I'm not doing this for monetization or anything like that. So everything that's being displayed is just for broadcasting purposes, educational purposes, okay? So, real quick, let me pull it up.
Say when a Jewish boy is kicked on a New York City sidewalk?
And look who they use.
What do you say when a Holocaust survivor is firebombed on the streets of Colorado? What do you say when 1 in 3 Jewish Americans were victims of hate last year? When there are no words, there's still a symbol to show you care. Share the blue square and stand up to Jewish hate. Oh, my Lord, mercy.
So, look, if you feel like those people are being hated, hey, contact that information, okay? This is for us to show forth that essentially we understand who this man is, all right? We understand that this man is Amalek, all right? Who the Most High said that he will have perpetual hatred with from generation to generation. And he understands that. And that's why when you go to the book of Revelation 12, okay, which what I'll do is I'm actually going to start from the top. So this is kind of going to be like a Revelation 12 breakdown as well. Yeah, the Spirit told me to go through the chapter, because it's very relevant to the time that's to come. All right, and I'm just gonna basically breeze through it, as fast as possible. And I just want to hit the main points. But you understand Matthew the 2nd chapter, okay? This is the explanation in the vision that John saw by the mouth of Yahushua, by what Yahushua showed. All right, when you read Matthew the 2nd chapter, and Herod, all right, he consorted with the wise men, right? And then what happened? From there, he said that he wanted to worship the child, but the Most High put it in a dream to the wise men to flee from that area and not show him the child, right? And then what happened? Herod, all right, by the way, who is an Idumean, who is an Amalekite, which that's some more information I want to go into, all right? As a matter of fact, I'll do that now, okay? I went to the chat, right? And I put in, the first thing I put in was Herod the Great an Amalekite? And they said for the short answer, no, Herod the Great was not an Amalekite, at least not in the way the term is usually meant. It says Herod the Great, 73 BCE to 4 AD, was an Idumean descendant of his father's side. It says the Idumeans were conquered by the Hasmonean ruler John Hyrcanus in the late 2nd century BCE and were forcibly converted to Judaism. Because of this, Herod was seen by many Jews of his time as not fully Jewish by ancestry, even though he practiced Judaism, meaning what? They forced him to keep the customs of the law, all right? And to be a Jew is not through religion, it's through birthright, it's through nationality, it's through bloodline. In order to be a Jew, technically, you have to come from the tribe of Judah, okay? But John Hyrcanus, when they were put in subjection, the Edomites during the time of the Greekish fashion in those different wars, all right, they put the Idumeans in subjection and made them worship after the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, I'm gonna jump down, right? It says where the Amalekite idea comes from. Now, it says some later Jewish writers and polemical traditions label Herod an Amalekite, symbolically to portray him as an historic enemy of Israel, especially because of his brutality and his conflict with the Hasmonean dynasty, which through the Spirit he is an Amalekite. All right, and I'm gonna show you. Now it's crazy. They say he's not an Amalekite, but he's an Idumean. Now, what I asked chat was, it said, what is an Idumean? It says an Idumean, also spelled Edomite, was a person from Idumea, a region south of Judea, roughly in what is today southern Israel and Jordan. Here is a clear breakdown. The Idumeans were descended from Edom, who in the Hebrew Bible is Esau, the brother of Jacob. And in parentheses, it has Israel. Because of this lineage, Edomites were considered related to, but distinct from the Israelites. That's true. Now, the point of the matter is, it says that the Idumeans were related, okay, to the Edomites, okay? Now, when you go to Genesis chapter 36, okay? Genesis chapter 36 and verse 12, I believe it is, right? It says, and Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife. That's right, you see? So to say that the Idumeans were related to the Edomites doesn't make any sense, because even in here in the chat, it tells you that Idumea is another word for Edom, okay? And the Amalekites come from Edom, all right? Now, when you go into the prophecy in Numbers, the 24th chapter, it tells you that Amalek will be the first of the nations, in the last days, which means what? To be primary, to be first, to be the cream of the crop, if you will, in this society, to where that's why you have the infomercials and commercials that I showed earlier, to where, look, you can't say nothing about these people. All right. And this, look, here it is. Our people get shot down in the street, so-called Negro, Hispanics, Native Americans. All right. Catch all kind of hell from this devil, from their oppressor. All right. But there's no infomercial. You know, look at the situation, not for nothing, which we don't side with him. Colin Kaepernick and the whole taking a knee, and how he was basically ousted from a major corporation in America. All right. He was blackballed out of a major corporation in America. All right. Because he wanted to take a knee in solidarity to the actual killings that you see in broad daylight of the so-called Negroes. Okay. Where, and then you had, remember before you had Stop Asian Hate. That was another one. Okay. But why is it that when a couple of, you know, incidents occur in regards to these people, all of a sudden it makes national headlines? It's international news. It's the focal point of society from a global perspective. All right, everybody got to stop. Everybody got to shut down and then pay attention to what's happening to these people. Why is that? I thought every man was created equal, but that's not the case. All right, and that's what it's showing you. All right, furthermore, like I said, all right, which I explained in Matthew, the 2nd chapter, that what the Herod, which was an Idumean, okay, which was an Amalekite, what did he do? All right, he went to go kill, okay, he went to go kill the man-child. All right, now let's go straight to Revelation, the 12th chapter. I'm gonna start at the first verse. Like I said, I'm gonna speed read. I'm gonna just, you know, hit a couple points and keep it moving. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and under her a crown of 12 stars. Right now, who is this talking about? The woman is talking about Israel, but it's also talking about Mary as well. All right. Now, the 12 stars is talking about who? The children of Israel, having what? The knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the Holy Scriptures. And that's what the moon and the stars represent. Okay. It says, and also, too, to back up that point, because I seen a Christian, matter of fact, now I got to get that. I seen a Christian not too long ago. He went into Revelation, the 13th chapter, I'm sorry, the 12th chapter. He said that's talking about the church. All right? That's not talking about the church. Give me 1 second. Because when you go to here we go. The book of Genesis, chapter 37 and verse 9, this is concerning Joseph, right? And the dream that he had, and he was explaining it to his brothers. All right, start at verse 8, Genesis 37 and 8. And his brethren said unto him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Meaning what? They bowed to him. All right. Now, basically, he was prophesying about him going into the land of Egypt. All right. What you read later on in the story, when there was a famine, all right, Joseph saved Egypt and told them to store the wheat, told them to store the corn, the grain. All right. Because when you go into Hebrew, it says grain. All right. It doesn't necessarily mean corn. When he told them to store the grain, because he foretold of the famine to come, it forced the other 11 stars, the 11 sons of Israel, to come to beg Joseph for food. All right. So those 11 stars, those 12 stars that it's talking about in the book of Revelation, is talking about the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. So you Christians, when you read the Bible, you just omit the concept of the children of Israel being the chosen people of the Heavenly Father until it suits those people. Right? Verse 2, it says, and back in Revelation 12 and 2, and she being with child, travailing in birth, and pain to her to be delivered, And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of heaven. Now, what's this dragon that had the 7 heads and 10 horns? It's ultimately talking about the Roman Empire, but in particular, it's talking about Herod. And as a matter of fact, when you go to the book of Matthew, the 2nd chapter, right, and when you go to the commentary of Herod, right, when I read it earlier, I'm gonna read it real quick. All right, give some good information, all right, about Herod the Great, okay, and his relationship with the Roman Empire. It says what? The name of the royal family flourished among the Jews in the time of Yahushua and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Idumea, appointed king of Judea, BC 40, okay, by the Roman Senate at the suggestion of Antony and with the consent of Octavian. He at length overcame the great opposition which the country made to him and took possession of the kingdom BC 37. And after the battle of Actium, he was confirmed by Octavian, whose favor he ever enjoyed. He was brave and skilled in war, learned and sagacious, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of the Hasmoneans, put to death many of the Jews that opposed his government, and proceeded to kill even his dearly beloved wife, Miriam of the Hasmonean line, and his 2 sons she had born of him. She had born him, you see? So he even killed his own wife, all right, which was an Israelite. So this man was known for killing Israelites, all right? That's why he truly represents that dragon, that person of draconian measures, all right? And that's why when you look in this time frame right now, the whole draconian emphasis is going to come by way of the shadow banning of you speaking up against these people, okay? Because these are the same people coming back, all right? This is the same spirit, the same bloodline, the same, there's no new thing under the sun, all right? It says what? Their favor, okay? It says by these acts of bloodshed, and especially by his love and imitation of Roman customs and institutions, and by the burdensome taxes imposed upon the subjects, he so alienated the Jews that he was unable to regain their favor by his splendid restoration of the temple and other acts of munificence. Meaning what? He was just trying to gain favor continuously with the Israelites after he put a lot of them to death. But the main point that we want is that it said, by his love and imitation of Roman customs and institution. All right, so the Romans set him up as king of Judea, but he had a love and infatuation, all right, with the Roman Empire. So that's why when you go to Revelation, the 12th chapter, okay, like I said, it's ultimately talking about the Roman Empire, but in particular, Herod the Great. Okay, when it speaks about the dragon and the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Verse 4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Now, this is where they, they try to add in those fables about Satan and, the devil having a long horn and long nose and having a tail. That's not what it's talking about. All right, it's just talking about him and his persecution style. All right, his style of persecution. Okay, him smiting the children of Israel, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Who's the third part of heaven? All right, it's talking about the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that dwelt in the land during the time of Herod's rule, Herod the Great's rule. Right? It says, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Right. So when you, like I said, when you go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter, right? We're going to scroll down. Let's get straight to the point. All right. Verse 12, Matthew 2 and 12. And being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return, talking about the wise men that Herod consorted with, all right, or consulted with, I should say, they departed into their own country another way. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take up the young child and the mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek to kill the young child, to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, meaning he got very angry, right? And sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under. So that's what these Herodians would do. All right. And this is how you know these are the same descendants of those people that are over there in that land. Because in one breath, they'll act like they're cool. They'll play like they know the law, statutes, commandments. You know, they'll play like, you know, they're all a part of the promises and of the covenants. And, you know, they're the people of the land. And they're, you know, they're good actors. But then as soon as something doesn't go their way, they'll look to kill you. All right. And eventually in time, which matter of fact, I saw today, there's a reel. Okay. There's a reel I saw. I don't know how true it is, but Candace Owens, okay, spoke about the transatlantic slave trade and who funded it. All right. And who funded it. Now, when you get this book, all right, which I had this book for years, I gave it out to particular individuals, you know, who the Spirit got on me to give it to. All right. And in this book, it tells you who funded the transatlantic slave trade. All right. The same people who own all the different corporations to this day. All those different. I saw another reel. Every day, more information is coming out about this devil. And you're going to see, the world is going to see that when the scriptures talk about who the devil is, it's going to, and particularly going to pinpoint not only just Esau, but those people over there. Excuse me. All right. Amalek is the mystery of iniquity, bro. All right. Because in the eyes of, you know, well, people, like I said, people are waking up. But for the most part, throughout time, people have looked at these, at these people, all right? The world has looked at these people as some form of holy people. But behind closed doors, I saw another video, another reel. You know, that's the spirit. I saw another reel where somebody was breaking down the beds and all the stuff that was in that basement in Brooklyn. All right, they was talking about how they doing sacrifices and it's all kind of craziness going on with these people, and it's all coming out right now. But where did it start? It started with the men of the Lord. Before this became cool, before it became a fad, before you could make a reel about it, all right, who was out there teaching it? The men of Great Millstone. And then prior to that, even from One West. You know, when I was younger, you know, basically my dad, he got a pamphlet from one of Dr. Malachi York's, you know, flunkies or whatever the case is, right? At the time. And I seen it on the floor. And I'll never forget, I picked it up and read it because it looked intriguing. I was young. I didn't know no better, right? And I seen the scriptures, Revelation 2 and 9, Revelation 3 and 9. You know, if you know you've been around in the major cities, especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever it was, you know, people used to be out there, you know, handing out flyers and telling people to come to their church, or telling people to come to their organization. You know, my pops, he wasn't into it, but he wound up getting it. So through the spirit, I know now, because in that pamphlet, it had Revelation 2 and 9, Revelation 3 and 9 in it. And where did Malachi York get that from? All right, he got that from One West. Okay? It's crazy how the spirit worked. All right? Which The point of the matter is that those people were always identified as the devil, as Satan, by One West. And this is why One West is the big issue of the earth right now. All right, when you get these Christians, everybody want to come up against One West. Why? Okay? Y'all watching your Shabbaraka thumb to the Lord's elect. Okay? So let's go back to Revelation 12. Okay? This man, he understands. So now when you read Revelation 12 chapter and we quote this verse and we bring it out, you can understand why. Okay? Why this man is called the devil. All right? And why he sees that he has but a short time. Okay? So let me find my place where I was at. Verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child who is to rule all nations with the rod of iron, right? That's Revelation 2 and 26, 2 and 25 and 26. And her child was caught up unto the Most High and to his throne, right? Because when Yahushua came on the scene, he's the one that was worthy to open up the seals, all right? The Lamb, okay, that sat on the right hand of the Father, okay? So after Yahushua was born, he completed the mission. Then he sat on the throne of the Father, right? Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, right? And after Yahushua was born, you had the Roman persecution, all right? Now that woman, again, like I said from the beginning, the woman has the definition or the identity of who this woman is has a duality. It could be talking about Mary, but it's also talking about the children of Israel. And in this case, it's mainly talking about who? The children of Israel. All right? Which during Roman persecution fled into, you know, the different parts of Africa, all right? In Asia Minor, you know, all throughout, you know, Israel was fleeing because of the persecution, because of 70 AD and 74 AD, up to, I think it was 4 years of the Roman Jewish wars. All right? You had these different time periods of Israelites being killed, slain, thrown into slavery by the Romans, by the Roman Empire, I should say. Okay, because you had Jakes amongst that, you know, you had so-called Negroes and, you know, you had Judites, Benjamites, Levites in the midst of the Roman Empire fighting along with Esau to persecute their own people. Okay? This is how you get the concept of the different centurions. Yahushua healed I believe, the centurion's son or the centurion's daughter. All right, and then you have Cornelius, which was what? A centurion, which was what? He was an Israelite. Okay? Verse 7. It says, and there was war in heaven, and his angels, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought again, and his angels, right? Now you have to understand the rebirth of the Roman Empire, how it came back as America, okay? And not only just America, but the power structure of the earth, which consists of the European Union and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the power structure of the earth, the hammer of the earth, all right, to put all the other nations in subjection, all right? And what they're doing now, as it says, what they're doing, right? This is in regards to all the different technology that's coming about, all right? You got Iron Man suits, you got new type of drones, okay? Oh, matter of fact, I saw that. Where was that at? I think that was where they going into Venezuela, or they were saying that America just unleashed a new drone. I think they was going into somewhere, I forget, don't quote me, but it was just speaking about a new device that they got, all right, to go to war with. Now that's what it's talking about when it says the dragon and his angels, all right? It's talking about Esau and his weaponry. Michael and his angels is actually talking about Michael the archangel, because as it states in the book of Daniel, right, that because of Esau and his technology, all right, there's going to need to be an intervenience of the outer force, the spiritual world. Okay, that's why the scriptures tell you, it says, the angels encampeth around them that fear the Lord. All right, and you can see that all throughout the scriptures of different examples where the angels of the Lord would appear. All right, remember with Peter and when Herod, I think that's the second, right? When he put James to death, and then he looked to put Peter to death. But who appeared? It was an angel. It was an angel of the Lord, and he broke the shackles of Peter so that he could flee and not be put to death. That's going to happen at a large scale in the very near future. And that's what this is talking about, Daniel 12:1. And at that time, Michael shall stand up, the great prince, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Right? So as Satan and his angels, or the dragon and his angels, are going to look to intervene, and they're going to look to actually put, small little devices into people's bodies, which you know already, the MOTB, the RFID microchip. I'll say it one time at least. The Spirit of the Lord got it, to where Esau ain't really snapping the whip when it comes to YouTube censorship at this point. But that censorship is going to heighten even more. And they're going to use they're going to use Amalek to do it. As I showed earlier. Matter of fact, I'll show it again real quick. All right? Considering.
Say when a Jewish boy is kicked on the New York City sidewalk. What do you say when a Holocaust survivor is firebombed on the streets of Colorado? What do you say when 1 in 3 Jewish Americans were victims of hate last year? When there are no words, there's still a symbol to show you care. Share the blue square and stand up to Jewish hate. Oh, my Lord, mercy.
So the same way that they painted Bin Laden to be some great boogeyman, Gaddafi, very soon they're going to do that domestically here in America to anyone that speaks up against these people, that speaks up against the dragon. Okay? It says what? Let's go back. Revelation chapter 12. Okay? And verse 8. And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Why? Because this is going to be all around the same time. Well, simultaneously, the destruction of Babylon the Great, the destruction of the beast. Yahushua going to show up with Michael. And remember what it says about Yahushua in Revelation the 19th chapter. It says what? That he went to go make war. All right? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Revelation 19. All right, and I got that commercial off. It was a football game on yesterday, and I caught it. Well, nowadays, you can rewind the TV. Right? This is Revelation 19 and verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. What's that white horse? The chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. Talking about Yahushai. And in righteousness doeth he judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, because the Most High has given this man authority above all principalities. All right, verse 13. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Who's those armies? Talking about who? The angels of the Lord. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. All right? So on and so forth. Okay? And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with the rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the almighty power. All right? And there you go. All right? There you go. So when we go back to Revelation chapter 12, okay, it talks about Michael, all right, intervening, fighting up against the dragon and his angels. It says, and prevailed not, right? Neither was place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And that's what's going on right now. He already deceived the whole world, telling everybody he's the chosen. He's deceived the whole world, telling everybody that we so-called Negroes and Hispanics and Native Americans. He deceived the whole world, telling everybody that he's the Most High. That's why I said, when you go to 2 Thessalonians, I believe it's the second chapter, talking about the mystery of iniquity already work. The man that called himself the Most High and everything that represents the Most High, he is it. He sits up in the temple of the Most High. Who is that talking about? All right. Oh, did not Herod build an attachment, all right, of the temple and dwelt in the temple, all right, and congregated with the Pharisees, with the Sanhedrin? He opposed himself as the Most High and sat in the temple of the Most High. And that's continuated in this time. All right? So it says what? He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. See? There you go. All the weaponry. And that's in Revelation, the 39th chapter. I'm sorry, Ezekiel, the 39th chapter. All right? It talks about how the weapons, all the weapons. Oh, also, too, Micah, the 4th chapter, Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. All right, scripture tell you that they're going to beat their swords into plowshares. See, right now, everyone is beating their plowshares into swords. But when Yahushua returns in the heavenly host, destroys everything, all that different weaponry is going out the window. Or they're going to get buried. Sorry, they're going to get burnt. All right? Let me see if I can find it in Ezekiel 39th chapter. Let me see. Let's do it like this. Bear with me. Here we go. Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse 9. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth, and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the handstaves, and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, to a complete time where there's no more. Verse 10, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them. Aha. Aha. All right? What does it mean to be spoiled? It means to be robbed. It means to be put in captivity. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. All right? And they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, saith the Lord power. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Such a beautiful song. Such a great tune. You know, back in the your parents, but that's my jam right there. That that's what this word is, man. You know, when you hear these things, it should bring joy to you. You should be like, yeah, man, we have victory to look forward to. You know? It says what? Back in Revelation chapter 12. All right? I'm going to read verse 9 again. And the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And that's why when you look, right? Because what the thing that these devils understand is that they understand that the main people that's going to come up against Amalek is our people. That's why with the first face that you see in this commercial, who is it? It looks like, she could be Issachar, she could be Ephraim. She looks like a northern tribe, right? You think that wasn't enough? My man got a beard, braids, he got the fade and all that, but still, look at the picture they're portraying to show forth the awareness of these people. All right, the scripture tell you we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. Okay? They want you to see these particular images because they're about to run the biggest psyop ever in mankind history, man. The greatest deception of all time. That's why the scripture said is what? That he deceived the world no more. He's about to deceive the whole planet Earth. All right? The only ones that's going to have some type of wherewithal, some type of wits, is those that have the eye salve, those that are able to see in the dark. Okay? Because the lights is about to be off. You know? Matter of fact, that's the spirit, man. Happened in San Fran. I went to Home Depot earlier. Lights was out. All right? They had a power outage in Home Depot. All right? Which is spiritual because it's what? It's an appliance store. It's a store that people go to get goods to fix up their house and, you know, to live with some form of comfortability and stability. Power was out. How about that? All right? It says what? For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, which is what? The word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Right? Scriptures tell you, at destruction thou shalt laugh. Right? The scriptures also tell you, it says in the book of Psalms 91, okay? Yeah. Man, we could really read the whole thing, but I just want to hit the points real quick. Verse 5, I'll start. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence. What's the arrow that flieth by day? Talking about the thermonuclear bombs. All right? The missiles that are going to be shot from one end of the earth to another. And the scriptures say, thou shalt not be afraid at that. Okay? Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. And that's the point. Let's go back. All right. Revelation 12. All right. Yeah, it says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. Oh, the scriptures also say what? Thy truth shall be thy shield and thy buckler. That was verse 4. All right. So the blood of the Lamb represents what? The truth. Okay. And by the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto death, because you're going to be offered up your life. It's either going to be take the chip or die. All right. That's the sacrifice. All right. That's the decision. That's going to be the grand final finale decision at the end. Take the chip or die. And those that will be covered by the blood of the Lamb are going to choose death. Now, guess what? There should be some of you that stand here and say, I shall not taste of death. That's going to take place in the very near future. It didn't take place back then because ain't nobody 2,000 years old. So you have to incorporate reincarnation for you to actually understand that. And then you have to incorporate that in this time. The same thing he told John the Revelator in John the 10th chapter. All right. He told him, he said, you're going to have to come back and prophesy this. He told the same thing to Jeremiah. Thou, even thou, shalt be discontinued from thine inheritance. All right? It says, verse 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You see, and you see how the prophecies jump. All right, they explained the destruction, they explained the overcoming, right? But it showed you, it rewound a little bit, all right? Because the times of the heavens is different than our time, all right? And John is getting he's getting the whole description, all right? He's getting the whole vision, and he's jotting down what he's seeing, okay? So that's why sometimes the chronological order of prophecy would jump within the same chapter, okay? It says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, right, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. You see? So once this word heightens, and once, you know, this man gets backed into a corner, that's when he's going to unleash. That's when the true persecution is going to come. That's going to be Jacob's trouble. All right? In the world, everybody's going to know, because the main target is going to be on one particular, category of people, which the scriptures call them the elect. All right? The world is going to look at them as some crazy, bugged out individuals that believe in the Bible. All right? It says, and the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into a place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Right. Now, this is going back, right, into the Roman Empire. Okay. Dealing with Mary. Okay. Going into Egypt. All right. To hide from Roman persecution. Okay. It says, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood. No, I think I missed the part. It says that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood, right? And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth, talking about the earth, and swallow up the flood. What's the flood? It's talking about the persecution. So the same way that when Herod saw that Yahushua was being born, he saw that what? The king was being born and his reign was about to go down. So what did he do? He caused a great persecution to kill all the firstborn, to kill all of the man-childs of Bethlehem. All right? So that's why John, as he's explaining this, he's likening that time frame unto what's about to occur, because he's seeing the great awakening of the Hebrew Israelites and the word of the Lord being brought forth, and his exposure to him being the devil, because that's another reason why he looked to kill, all right, the man-child, because he knew that word got back that he was being a manipulator. All right? Word got back. He ain't right. Don't bring the man-child to him. All right? And that's what's happening now. All right? It's being exposed that this man ain't right. Okay, and that's why the scripture called him what? The serpent. This is that same serpent. The same mischievous, tricky, manipulator individual that was back in the garden. All right? Up to the same old tricks. All right? Yeah, and it says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman, which brought forth the man-child. You see? Who's the woman? Israel. Okay? And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness and unto a place where she is nourished for a time and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out. All right, I read all that. My bad. Let's jump down. Verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Okay, which kept the commandments of the Most High and had the testimony of Yahushua. And that's how you know it's talking about now, because it's talking about those which keep the commandments and have the testimony. What's the testimony? Those that understand prophecy. See, and that proves right there to all you Israelites out there who think that the law is to your salvation, you have to get the testimony. Yeah, you may know the laws, you may know how to keep the laws to the best of your ability, if you will. A lot of times you guys ain't doing it right. I.e., example is, the Sabbath. But what is the key ingredient is what? One of the key ingredients is what? The testimony of Yahushua. And we know, that's Israelite 101, Revelation 19:10. The testimony of Yahushua is what? The spirit of prophecy. So you got to be on point with prophecy, with the commandments, so that you could be covered from what? The devil and having that great wrath. All right? From the persecution of the dragon, the persecution of the serpent. If you don't got the commandments and the testimony, then you can't survive the persecution. How about them apples? All right. And I'll close on that, man. Call lawyer Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakwadash.